Let's swaffle, everybody. Volume. All right. Okay, we alive. We alive in both places, everybody. Betwabble, peace and blessings. Great rising. Yes, she about to set though, Shayla. Shayla said the moon is still out and she's beautiful and full. Yeah, so she'll be setting about very shortly. I think like 7:23 or something like that. So if y'all missed the last night, go get her before she go down and she come back up later on the night about 5 something. Yes. Okay. Hey girls, hey. All right, beautiful people. Uncle Nathaniel. All right, you too. Okay, beautiful people. I hope everybody enjoyed their Sabbath day yesterday. It is Friday, January 29th, 2021, day 63 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets. Another 3-year consecutive day count, day 732. Remember, that is without the feast days. The feast day, Sabbath days added in, and the actual Sabbath days added in, right? Okay, well, otherwise we'd be well over this count of the 700s, right? Okay, so today we read Leviticus 21, 22, and 23. And we're going to hop right on over here to Legends of the Jews and pick up where we left off on page 265. Okay, but let us get started here with the Shema. Okay. Listen, y'all, pay attention. Hear, O Israel. Okay. All right. Hear therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily, as Yahuwah, the God of our fathers, has promised us, in the land that flows with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel, Yahuwah, our God, He is one God. And you shall love Yahuwah your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart. And you shall teach them diligently unto your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them upon the posts of your house and on your gates. And Yahuwah commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear Yahuwah our God for our good always, that He might preserve us alive as it is this day. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do these commandments before Yahuwah our God as He has commanded us. All right, beautiful people. So let me minimize this. Okay. Alright, minimize that. Bring up this here. Okay. Hold on. Alright, y'all. I'm gonna have to eventually get me like 2 screens or something, because all this shuffling around sometimes. I'm gonna have to do something. I had to hook up my other little screen I got. Make it easier. That way I could just have one screen for the reading and the streaming over here. Like, I got stuff, y'all. I just have not taken. I even have like a streaming camera and stuff, so I don't have to do it here on the phones. But it's gonna take me some time to actually go through and read it and make sure I get it all set up right. I be doing so much. I just have not taken the time to actually set it up, you know. But anyway, y'all. But I figured every day when I do this and I'm shuffling screens around, I'm like, you know what, Pam, you should really just take the time and get the stuff set up. Look, I done had the stuff for months. Had it for months. And just, I'll take the time someday soon to get it all set up. That way everything is there. It'll be so much easier for me. It really would be. Okay. All right, y'all. So Leviticus chapter 21. Yep. Yahuwah said to Moses, give the following instructions to the priests, the descendants of Aaron. A priest must not make himself ceremonially unclean by touching the dead body of a relative. The only exceptions are his closest relatives, his mother or father, son or daughter, brother, or his virgin sister who depends on him because she has no husband. But a priest must not defile himself and make himself unclean for someone who is related to him only by marriage. The priests must not shave their heads or trim their beards or cut their bodies. They must be set apart as holy to Yahuwah their God and must never bring shame on the name of Yahuwah. They must be holy, for they are the ones who present the special gifts to Yahuwah, gifts of food for their God. Priests may not marry a woman defiled by prostitution, and they may not marry a woman who is divorced from her husband, for the priests are set apart as holy to their God. You must treat them as holy because they offer up food to your God. You must consider them holy because I, Yahuwah, am holy, and I make you holy. Yes, you missed the Shema Dana. Okay, so remember how I always tell y'all, the sacrifices are food. The sacrifices are food, right? Okay, so Yahuwah is even reiterating this here. So a lot of people, I just like to keep reiterating that because some people don't get that part. When they don't get that part, they tend to not get other things that's happening, right? It's just by default you sleep to a lot of other things. If some of the most obvious things that are right in front of your face are not like brought out to you, especially if you don't read it all the time like I do. Okay, if a priest's daughter defiles herself by becoming a prostitute, she also defiles her father's holiness, and she must be burnt to death. The high priest has the highest rank of all the priests. The anointing oil has been poured on his head, and he has been ordained to wear the priestly garments. He must never leave his hair uncombed or tear his clothing. He must not defile himself by going near a dead body. He may not make himself ceremonially unclean, even for his father or mother. He must not defile the sanctuary of Yahuwah by leaving it to attend to a dead person, for he has been made holy by the anointing oil of his God. I am Yahuwah. The high priest may only marry a virgin. He may not marry a widow, a woman who is divorced, or a woman who has been defiled by prostitution. I'm sorry, let me reread that. That has been defiled, although that falls in here. It says, or a woman who has defiled herself by prostitution. It means that she freely gave herself away willy-nilly. Morning, Mother. Shalom, shalom. She must be a virgin from his own clan, so that he will not dishonor his descendants among his clan. For I am Yahuwah who makes him holy. Then Yahuwah said to Moses, give the following instructions to Aaron. In all future generations, none of your descendants who has any defect will qualify to offer food to his God. No one who has a defect qualifies, whether he is blind, lame, disfigured, deformed, or has a broken arm or foot, or is a hunchback or dwarf, or has a defective eye, or skin sores or scabs, or damaged testicles. Listen, let me bring out something real quick. Remember Noah, think all the way back to Noah. Noah, the priesthood should have fallen upon Noah, but it didn't. It fell to Shem. Why? Because Noah had been deformed in his process of life, right? I believe his hand, I forgot exactly what happened to his hand, but there was, during the course of them being up there, a lion hit him or something. He was taking too long, one of the lions or something. Anyway, attacked him, and it caused his hand to be all out of whack. We're in Leviticus 21. But also, remember what Ham did to him. When they got to where they was going, Noah had got a little tipsy, got a little drunk from the wine from his vine, and he went in there and he was with his woman, right? And so Ham, actually it was Canaan who came upon it. And he was the one who went and told Ham. Ham got pissed. He's like, look, Yah has given the land to us. Like, he done started all over. And it's already 3 of us. Like, Noah had 3 sons, the NLT. And he said, and he is desiring to beget more sons and daughters. So what he did, is make a long story short, that's the whole thing where scripture, it takes out portions that just says that Ham saw him uncovered, and Shem and Japheth went in backwards and covered him, right? But what happened was, it tells you that Noah was also damaged in his testicles, right? Because of what his son had done to him. Some people think it was a homosexual act that he performed. That was not the case. That was not the case. And you kind of get that when you're missing information. But Noah's testicles was also damaged, right? And so those who stand before Yahuwah to offer him holy sacrifices, they must be perfect. And even the sacrifices or the food that they bring to offer must be perfect. But if we understand this about the law, let me just take you here. Let's look at this just a little bit further. I don't want to get off. But if we go and we keep reading further as we get into the New Testament, first of all, let us remember, human sacrifice is an abomination. Yahuwah has said that. He constantly said that all the way through. So there goes, shows us again something is wrong. But also, Yahuwah, and if that was the case, I just want y'all to think about some stuff. And if that was the case, that they offered up a human being, first of all, let's think about the process. Who Yahuwah authorized? Are Romans authorized to give sacrifices to Yahuwah? Nope. It's out of place. There was Romans who sacrificed or crucified him, right? Yep. They were not. I'm just saying, if this was by Yah, if this was set in place by Yah as being taught in a lot of places, I'm just saying, if you read the Yahuwah's law back here, you would not be led astray by some things, by leaven that has been added, right? So I really just wanted to bring this out just to get y'all thinking. We ain't gonna stay here too long, but I just want to bring it out, right? Listen, let me just read this again. Then Yahuwah said to Moses, give the following instructions to Aaron and all future generations. None of your descendants who has any defect will qualify to offer food to his God. No one who has a defect qualifies, whether he is blind, lame, disfigured, deformed, or has a broken foot or arm, or is hunchback, or is dwarf, or has a defective eye, or skin sores or scabs, or damaged testicles, right? No descendant of Aaron who has a defect may approach the altar to present any special gifts to Yahuwah. Since he has a defect, he may not approach the altar to offer food to his God. Now also, before they crucified him, was not he rendered an unqualified sacrifice, right? Because you had to bring something that was perfectly whole and together. No bruises, no cuts, no slashes, no unauthorized bleeding or any of that, right? But what does it clearly tell us, right? He was battered and bruised beyond recognition. So now you got unauthorized people bringing a sacrifice, and now you bring in something that is not qualified as a sacrifice. Matter of fact, it was beaten beyond recognition. How would you offer something like this, right? And another one, it's a human sacrifice, disqualified from the very beginning, right? Everything back there that has happened is completely unauthorized by Yahuwah if we stick to what Yahuwah said, right? So when we're ignorant of this, we continue to stay ignorant, right? And we're none the wiser, and we're led astray, and we're shaken to and fro, right? I'm just here to make y'all think. I just want to make sure y'all paying attention to what y'all reading. I really want to make sure y'all are paying attention to what y'all reading and not reading it completely asleep. Because I personally know from my own personal experience, I read this book for so long completely asleep, and all I read was what I was told to read. All I understood was the interpretations that were given to me. They were not my own thoughts or my own understanding, as Yahuwah has given it to be for those who actually go in here and read everything without preconceived notions, right? Okay, so just in case y'all still sleeping and y'all not paying attention, I'm not telling you what to believe. I'm simply showing you what's right here in front of your face and bringing to your attention, highlighting some stuff. This is what Yahuwah says. Okay, take this. Remember, he's the authority. He is what we are to balance all our scales against. Okay? All right, let me read this section again. And just take that. Look at it. You ain't got to believe me. Just take it. Look at it. Take your beliefs. See if they line up with what Yahuwah has said. Okay? Now, that is a whole sermon, Dana. That is a whole sermon. But when we don't get the words directly, this how Eve got in trouble. This how Eve got in trouble. Listen, we ain't going back down that path, right? As being a woman, I want to find out exactly what Yahuwah has said from his mouth. You know, Adam may have told her, but still some way the serpent was able to, did he really say that? I'm all like this. That's exactly what he said. Hold on, wait, stay right there. Let me get it. Scroll, please. Nope, this is what he said. Get out of here. You won't get me in trouble. Like, that's how I am 24/7 now. Like, nobody else is leading me astray, and you was not leading my family astray. Good morning, Auntie. Okay, right? So I believe women have like this extra responsibility now, especially because most of the women are in charge of literally teaching the nations who are the next generation, right? The children, right? The children, we're to teach our children, and we should teach them truth, right? I feel like we have an extra responsibility to teach them truth, and we need to go back and check the manual and make sure we're not passing on misinformation, especially if we were misinformed. You don't want to be dumb raising dumb kids, right? You know, not dumb, but let's say ignorant of truth, and passing that ignorance on to another generation. It just, this vicious cycle just keeps repeating itself, right? Okay. Let's go back. That's all I want to say right there, right? Okay. Then Yahuwah said to Moses, give the following instructions to Aaron in all future generations. None of your descendants who has any defect will qualify to offer food to his God. No one who has a defect qualifies, whether he is blind, lame, disfigured, disformed, or has a broken foot or arm, or is hunchback or dwarf, or has a defective eye, skin sores or scabs, or damaged testicles. No descendant of Aaron who has a defect may approach the altar to present special gifts to Yahuwah. Since he has a defect, he may not approach the altar to offer food to his God. However, he may eat from the food offered to God, including the holy offerings and the most holy offerings. So he said, you can come if you got a deformity, you all beat up, battered, and bruised, you can come eat of it, but you cannot work in service, and you cannot offer any offerings, right? Okay, but you can come sit with the family, you can partake. You just can't be one of the ones who are on duty, because those who stay in duty must be whole in every area. Like you cannot put somebody sick on watch, right? You need to sit down and you need to partake and you need to be healed. Do not stay on watch, right? That's what Yahuwah is saying. However, hold on, let's go back up. Since he has a defect, he may not approach the altar to offer food to his God. However, he may eat of the food offered to Yahuwah, including the holy offerings and the most holy offerings. Yet, because of his physical defect, he may not enter the room behind the inner curtain or approach the altar, for this would defile my holy places. I am Yahuwah who makes them holy. So Moses gave these instructions to Aaron and his sons and to all the Israelites. Okay, Leviticus 22. Then Yahuwah said to Moses, tell Aaron and his sons to be very careful with the sacred gifts that the Israelites set apart for me, so that they do not bring shame on my holy name. I am Yahuwah. Give them the following instructions. In all future generations, if any of your descendants is ceremonially unclean when he approaches the sacred offerings that the people of Israel consecrate to Yahuwah, he must be cut off from my presence. I am Yahuwah. If any of Aaron's descendants has a skin disease or any kind of discharge that makes him ceremonially unclean, He may not eat from the sacred offerings until he has been pronounced clean. He also becomes unclean by touching a corpse, or by having an emission of semen, or by touching a small animal that is unclean, or by touching someone who is ceremonially unclean for any reason. The man who is defiled in any of these ways will remain unclean until the evening. He may not eat from the sacred offerings until he has bathed himself in water. When the sun goes down, he will be ceremonially clean again and may eat from the sacred offerings, for this is his food. He may not eat an animal that has died of a natural death or has been torn apart by wild animals, for this would defile him. I am Yahuwah. The priest must follow my instructions carefully, otherwise they will be punished for their sins and will die for violating my instructions. I am Yahuwah who makes them holy. No one outside a priest's family may eat the sacred offerings. Even guests and hired workers in a priest's home are not allowed to eat them. However, if the priest buys a slave for himself, the slave may eat from the sacred offerings, and if his slaves have children, they may also share his food. If a priest's daughter marries someone outside of the priestly family, she may no longer eat the sacred offerings. If she becomes a widow or is divorced and has no children to support her, and she returns to live in her father's home as in her youth, she may eat her father's food again. Otherwise, no one outside a priest's family may eat the sacred offerings. Any such person who eats the sacred offerings without realizing it must pay the priest for the amount eaten, plus an additional 20%. The priest must not let the Israelites defile the sacred offerings brought by Yahuwah by allowing unauthorized people to eat them. This will bring guilt upon them and require them to pay compensation. I am Yahuwah who makes them holy. That makes me think of something. Alicia, if you are still here, listen. Remember last Passover, right, when we was giving away some of the food that had yeast, but we also was making sure we had enough lamb divided up between our families and Sher House and Tara and everybody, right? Remember your friend that we was giving some of the food to, but they were not keeping the feast. There we still had a portion of lamb that we was going to give to them, but unbeknownst to us, as we were laughing, and let me tell you, y'all is so good that even in our ignorance of certain things, that we didn't realize this until that night when we was about to eat, and I went to check for something and realized that that portion of the lamb that was frozen had fallen. I don't even know how it happened. It had fallen out of the bag. It must have been while I was holding it over the deep freezer or something. It must have slipped back in and I didn't catch it. But anyway, that portion that we was going to give to her household, it fell out of the bag back into the deep freezer and I didn't catch it, right? And it wasn't until later. You remember that? I was like, oh shoot, Leisha, the lamb is still here. You remember that? Yep. I was like, Leisha, the lamb is still here in the deep freezer. Oh man, well, may Yahuwah bless them, but we didn't realize that we are not supposed to do that. Like, if they are not keeping Yahuwah's commands and not like, yes, Yahuwah, I serve Yahuwah, and we are keeping, whether they're Israel or not, because the feast Yahuwah said is for his people, and also those who sojourn among us and are the stranger among us, who has taken Yahuwah to be their own, right? It said nobody else can partake of this, right? Even I was like, oh, snap. I said, Father, even in our own ignorance, thank you, right? It fell out the bag and they didn't get it anyway. That just like blew our mind. So you remember that. I just remember that when I was reading this right here. Okay, any such person who eats the sacred offerings without realizing it must pay the priest for the amount eaten plus an additional 20%. The priest must not let the Israelites defile the sacred offerings brought by Yahuwah by allowing unauthorized people to eat them. Oh my gosh, I just get goosebumps and shake down all of my shana when I read this. This will bring guilt upon them and require them to pay compensation. I am Yahuwah who makes them holy. And Yahuwah said to Moses, give Aaron and his sons and all the Israelites these instructions, which apply both to the native Israelites and to the foreigners living among you. If you present a gift as a burnt offering to Yahuwah, whether it is to fulfill a vow or is a voluntary offering, you will be accepted only if your offering is a male animal with no defects. It may be a bull, a ram, or a male goat. Do not present an animal with defects, because Yahuwah will not accept it on your behalf. Yahuwah does not accept beaten, torn, battered, beaten beyond recognition sacrifices. And we already know the first check mark that disqualifies you is if you're human. I just want to keep saying that just in case y'all is really not paying attention. If you present a peace offering to Yahuwah from the herd or the flock, whether it is to fulfill a vow or is a voluntary offering, you must offer a perfect animal. It may have no defect of any kind. You must not offer an animal that is blind, crippled, or injured, or that has a wart, a skin sore, or scabs. Such animals must never be offered on the altar as special gifts to Yahuwah. If a bull or lamb has a leg that is too long or too short, it may be offered as a voluntary offering, but it may not be offered to fulfill a vow. If an animal has damaged testicles or is castrated, you may not offer it to Yahuwah. You must never do this in your own land, and you must not accept such an animal from foreigners and then offer it as a sacrifice to Yahuwah. Such animals will not be accepted on your behalf, for they are mutilated or defective. And Yahuwah said to Moses, when a calf or lamb or goat is born, it must be left with its mother for 7 days. From the 8th day on, it will be accepted as a special gift to Yahuwah, but you must not slaughter a mother animal and her offspring on the same day, whether from the herd or the flock. When you bring a thanksgiving offering to Yahuwah, sacrifice it properly so you will be accepted. Eat the entire sacrificial animal on the day it is presented. Do not leave any of it until the next morning. I am Yahuwah. So what are we doing? What are they doing when they're sacrificing? They're killing the animal to eat it. Thank you, Father, for this food. Repenting for whatever it is, whatever, right? But thank you, Father, for this food. A portion is given to the priests for their families to eat, and the rest is to be eaten by you and your household, right? It's like, and I hate to use this term, it's like, I don't want to say that. It's like we need to have a family meeting. In some circles, you about to have, let's have a come to JC moment, right? But I stopped using that term when I realized that we're not even supposed to let the names of other idols or other gods that are being worshipped even come through our lips, right? So that's why I abbreviate when I'm referring, so everybody know what I'm saying. Those, that way everybody know what I'm talking about. Sometimes I just won't say it at all, and I'll refer to it enough to where you know what I'm talking about, right? So it's like when you screw it up, it's like we need to have family meeting. Come on, we need to sit down around this table and talk. Yep, you in trouble, so you get the best of your flock. We sharing from what's coming from your house tonight. Yep, get the best around and come on, because you's the one that's in trouble. Let's go. Come on, get to the priest. Let's all sit around this table and talk about what you done did, son. So go ahead and take the best of what you got and bring it. It should hurt. It should hurt you deep inside. You get the best, because you need to. Why? It's gonna jolt you next time you even think about doing something wrong. Wait a minute, hold on. What's required for this sin that's going to keep you from purposely doing sins, but it'll keep you more aware of just what you're doing. Period. You know how sometimes we just do stuff because we've been doing it so long and nobody has called us to the carpet or called us to the table, even if we may not be consciously doing something wrong, right? But we could have been raised a certain way where we're doing something that we think is right because we've been doing it so long. Well, Yahuwah is trying to get us. He's trying to wake us up where we're always aware of what we're doing and what is going on around us, right? That's why he said, you know what, bring the best of what you got from your flock. Give me the very best, because it causes you to think. Think about when you get your butt whooped about something, right? It causes you to think next time when you get into that certain situation. Or even if you were blind walking into a situation that causes you, it immediately brings you, oh, wait a minute, I remember what happened last time. I ain't supposed to be here. I'll catch y'all later. I'm out. You know what I'm saying? It causes you to become aware at all times. You are fully awake at all times. And I think that's the big piece of what's missing from all this and what Yahuwah is trying to get them to see. I need y'all been living over here in Egypt all this time, sacrificing to all these different gods. No, I need to break y'all state. Y'all, you know what I'm saying? So that when I read this is what I see. I'm like, oh, snap, I get this. Because the first couple times reading it through it, it really, I'm just be honest, like blah, 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 or wah, 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 wah. It sounded like Charlie Brown's teacher, right? And I'm like, what? What? Why all these words? What is this saying? Like, seriously, that's really, it really was how it was for me for a long time. I'm like, Father, okay, I feel like I'm just missing something. I was like, please help me understand this. And I just kept reading it. And I just kept reading it, you know? And so now it's like I see it, like I can like see it in everyday things now. So I thank the Most Holy for that. Okay, last chapter for today, y'all. Leviticus chapter 23. Then we're gonna hop over here at the Legends of the Jews. Okay, this is my favorite. I forgot we was here. Leviticus 23. Blah, blah, blah. Yes. The appointed festivals. This is one of my most favorite I say that about every child, but here you'll see why. It's all the festivals here, right? But we also read about these festivals in Exodus and also in Numbers, and I think it's like 23 or 26 or whatever, but also in Deuteronomy. Okay, here we go. The appointed festivals. Yahuwah said to Moses, give the following instructions to the people of Israel. These are Yahuwah's appointed festivals, which you are to proclaim as official days for Holy Assembly. You have 6 days each week for your ordinary work, but the 7th day is a Sabbath day of complete rest, an official day for Holy Assembly. It is Yahuwah's Sabbath day, and it must be observed wherever you live. In addition to the Sabbath, these are Yahuwah's appointed festivals. The official days for Holy Assembly are to be celebrated at their proper times each year. Okay, so let me bring out something. Some people ask, okay, so are we to have, what does it mean? We're to have like a holy convocation. It's like, okay, is we supposed to go out to the temple or whatever? And that right there for the Sabbath day, it's like, I'm like, wait a minute, Father, let's make sure we understanding this, right? So the way I'm taking it, simply because of previous things about the Sabbath day, where Yahuwah says, do not go out of your place on the Sabbath. What I'm thinking from what I pick up, these holy convocations, the holy assembly or whatever, is for like your household, because it says we are not to go out of our place on the Sabbath, neither are we to travel, right? So I'm looking at that. And you got to think about it. When this was given, they were like all together. So they literally could congregate amongst themselves and all be there. But since we're scattered to the four corners of the earth, I'm like, Father, how does this look today? Okay, we don't want to violate this by going out or traveling to a place, because it tells us to stay in your place on these days. So I'm forgive me if I'm wrong, Father, but trying to keep to this as close as possible as I understand it. So on these days, we stay in our place, or we have technology and we can Zoom or Google chat or FaceTime. Like sometimes, like my family, we got big family. We on the FaceTime and everybody's there present. Like we can do that and still stay in our place on Sabbath days by keeping to this as close as possible, right? Because I know some people have that question, okay, is we supposed to go out to the synagogue? Or, I'm just like, say don't go out your place, right? So I'm really, like I said, I'm trying to stick to it as close as I'm understanding. So it's like, okay, we got our family here, and maybe we'll bring it up. Technology, thank y'all for technology. We can all chat and talk about the scriptures together, right? So I just wanted to say that because I know a couple people have asked me about that. And I was like, this is what I understand at this point. I'm saying me, this is what I understand at this point, Some people have a different understanding, but, so, okay. In addition to the Sabbath, these are Yahuwah's appointed festivals, the official days for Holy Assembly that are to be celebrated at their proper times each year. Yahuwah's Passover begins at sundown on the 14th day of the first month. On the next day, the 15th day of the month, you must begin celebrating the festival of unleavened bread. This festival to Yahuwah continues for 7 days, and during that time, the bread you eat must be made without yeast. On the first day of the festival, all the people must stop their ordinary work and observe an official day for Holy Assembly. For 7 days you must present special gifts to Yahuwah. On the seventh day the people must again stop all their ordinary work to observe an official holy day for assembly. So the first day of unleavened bread and the last day of unleavened bread are Sabbath. But you know what's crazy? When you line it up, and something we realized last year, when we lined this up this way and we started calculating the days like according to what we see in the sky with the moon, do you realize that the first and the last day of unleavened bread actually fell on a true Sabbath? I'm like, how much perfect? I was like, wait a minute. I think we really got this right, because the Jewish people, they also call these days like double Sabbaths or high holy days. I was like, now I understand what they're talking about. Now, when they calculate it, sometimes it doesn't necessarily always fall on the actual Sabbath, that if you're tracking it according to like the moon phases or whatever. Like I said, because I began to notice on the Sabbath, as we began to start calculating the months according to the new moons or the new months, that the Sabbaths, like they restarted over with that every new month, and the Sabbaths actually fall on a day that the new moon is. That actually, when the feast days show up throughout the year, like with that same cycle, they actually fall on these days, with the exception of the Day of Atonement, because it's like the 10th day. It's the 10th day of the 7th month. That's the only one. He just called that out of all of them. This is the Day of Atonement. But all the other ones, they actually line up with true Sabbaths, and they are truly indeed high holy days. I'm like, you can't make this stuff up. Okay. For 7 days, you must present special gifts to Yahuwah. On the seventh day, the people must again stop all their ordinary work to observe an official day for holy assembly. Then Yahuwah said to Moses, give the following instructions to the people of Israel. When you enter the land I am giving you, and you harvest its first crops, bring the priest a bundle of grain from the first cutting of your grain harvest. On the day after the Sabbath, the priest will lift it up before Yahuwah, so it may be accepted on your behalf. On that same day, you must sacrifice a 1-year-old male lamb with no defects as a burnt offering to Yahuwah. With it, you must present a grain offering consisting of 4 quarts of choice flour moistened with oil. It will be a special gift, a pleasing aroma to Yahuwah. You must also offer 1 quart of wine as a liquid offering. Do not eat any bread or roasted grain or fresh kernels on that day until you bring this offering to Yahuwah. This is a permanent law for you, and you must observe it from generation to generation wherever you live. So if y'all got gardens and stuff, we putting this into play, right? The Festival of Harvest. From the day after the Sabbath, this kind of ties into this. So the Feast of Weeks, or the Festival of Harvest, or Pentecost, you cannot actually calculate these days if you don't calculate the celebration of the first harvest, right? With the grain offering, the first thing that ripes from your grain offering, whatever grain you plant, it could be corn, right? That's considered a grain, or wheat, or barley, whatever, right? It's not until then you get the first fruits. When you get the first fruits, then you can properly calculate Pentecost, or Shavuot, or the Feast of Weeks, or the Festival of the Harvest, right? That's the 50-day count after the first fruits. Okay, so let's, for the sake of conversation, let's say for this particular year, this month, that the first fruits are ripe on a Wednesday, and let's just say, for the sake of conversation, that the Sabbath is actually falling on this Friday, right? So Yahuwah said the day after the Sabbath is when you will begin that count. So you harvested on the Wednesday, you presented it to the priest, and the priest, after the day after that very next Sabbath, after you harvest the first fruits, that very next Sabbath, the priests are to offer it, wave it before Yahuwah, and from that day, which will be, if the Sabbath is that Friday, the very next day would be Saturday. So Saturday will be day 1 of that 50-day count, and you count off 50 days or 7 weeks exactly, right? Which will land you at the proper day of Pentecost, or Shavuot, or the Feast of Weeks, or the Festival of the Harvest. Okay. From the day after the Sabbath, the day you bring the bundle of grain to be lifted up as a special offering, count off 7 full weeks. Keep counting until the day after the 7th Sabbath 50 days later. Then present an offering of new grain to Yahuwah. From wherever you live, bring 2 loaves of bread to be lifted up before Yahuwah as a special offering. Make these loaves from 4 quarts of choice flour and bake them with yeast. It will be an offering to Yahuwah from the first of your crops. Along with the bread, present 7 one-year-old male lambs with no defects, 1 young bull, and 2 rams as burnt offerings to Yahuwah. These burnt offerings, together with the grain offerings and liquid offerings, will be a special gift, a pleasing aroma to Yahuwah. Then you must offer 1 male goat as a sin offering and 2 one-year-old male lambs as a peace offering. The priest will lift up the 2 lambs as a special offering to Yahuwah, together with the loaves representing the first of your crops. These offerings, which are holy to Yahuwah, belong to the priest. That same day will be proclaimed an official day for holy assembly, a day on which you do no ordinary work. This is a permanent law for you, and it must be observed from generation to generation wherever you live. When you harvest the crops of your land, do not harvest the grain along with the edges of your field, and do not pick up what the harvesters drop. Leave it for the poor and the foreigners living among you. I am Yahuwah, your God. Then Yahuwah said to Moses, give the following instructions to the people of Israel. On the first day of the appointed month in early autumn, you are to observe a complete day of rest. It will be an official day for holy assembly, a day commemorated with loud blast of a trumpet. You must do no ordinary work on that day. Instead, you are to present special gifts to Yahuwah. So that's the day of trumpets, or the festival of trumpets, the first day of the 7th month. Then Yahuwah said to Moses, be careful to celebrate the Day of Atonement on the 10th day of the same month, 9 days after the Festival of Trumpets. You must observe it as an official day for Holy Assembly, a day to deny yourselves and present special gifts to Yahuwah. Do no work during the entire day, because it is the Day of Atonement, when offerings of purification are made for you, making you right with Yahuwah your God. All who do not deny themselves that day will be cut off from Yahuwah's people. And I will destroy anyone among you who does any work on that day. You must not do any work at all. This is a permanent law for you, and it must be observed from generation to generation wherever you live. It will be a Sabbath day of complete rest for you, and on that day you must deny yourselves. This day of rest will begin at sundown on the 9th day of the month, and extend until sundown on the 10th day. Now let me say something here. If y'all don't ever fast a day in your life, like if y'all really think y'all gonna die, if you have to go without food more than 25 hours, first of all, you need to get yourself together. Get your mind right? So here is a way. I'm gonna tell you, Yahuwah thinks about all things, right? Even for those who are struggling with pushing that plate away. Let's look at the Day of Atonement, right? We are to begin, and you're supposed to fast. Don't put no food in your mouth. But here's what Yahuwah has done for you who have an issue with fasting, right? He said, listen, for this day, everybody need to completely not eat anything. He said, but he didn't say that. I'm just ad-libbing right here so you can see what has happened. We're going to straddle the Day of Atonement over the course of 2 days. I want you to begin it the night before, right? Meaning what? So all the 9th day up until sundown, you can get your fill of food. You can eat the whole 9th day, but when the sun goes down on the 9th day, stop eating, because the Day of Atonement starts, right? And he said, let the Day of Atonement begin on the evening of the 9th day, and let it extend until the evening of the 10th day, right? So what has happened is you can eat on the 9th and the 10th day, just not between those periods, right? So, the Day of Atonement is coming up. Y'all should probably practice this throughout the year so you'll be ready when the Day of Atonement comes, right? That way you don't get yourself cut off, So the 9th day, during daylight hours, you can eat food, right? But just know when the sun goes down, eating must stop, right? And the eating, and here, let me tell y'all something. What I found out while fasting, if this is hard, if you don't break your fast in the morning by drinking water or putting anything in your body, it is easy to go a whole 24 hours doing a complete fast No water, no food or anything. Like your body won't even crave it because you would not have broken the fast from the night before, from the time you were sleeping, right? Y'all should practice this a couple times and see. It is, especially if you're trying to get like a water fast going, it's easier if the first day you can do a complete fast. If you do not break your fast from the night before when you've been sleeping, you will not even get hungry. Your digestive system will not even be triggered, right? And so your system will stay in like the state of sleep, and it'll be easy to carry on the next day. You won't lose energy. You won't die. I'm telling you, practice it. Test it out, right? Okay, so the Day of Atonement, everybody could do this, right? And adults should be fasting, right? It doesn't say anything about children, but even I try to get my children in a habit of doing this as they're growing, so even like my sister, okay, we're going to practice this. Okay, you maybe have tea. If you're absolutely hungry, you just can't hold out, okay, get some fruit. That's for the smaller kids, right? Yahuwah did not tell us to make the children fast. But as they're getting older, we want them to begin practicing this, right? So it becomes a habit, okay? I just want to say that. So the Day of Atonement begins the evening of the 9th day till the evening of the 10th day. So meaning the daytime before the sun go down, you can eat on the 9th day. And after the sun goes down on the 10th day, you can eat again. So you will still eat on both of those days. It's just between these periods, Yahuwah say do not eat. Let's read it again, just in case y'all have issues with that. It's real easy, and I think that's why he straddled it over 2 days, right? It's just to help everybody out. You got problems with the appetite? Listen, you can hold off a few more hours, right? Then Yahuwah said to Moses, be careful to celebrate the Day of Atonement on the 10th day of the same month, 9 days after the Festival of Trumpets. You must observe it as an official holy day for assembly, a day to deny yourselves and present special gifts to Yahuwah. Do no work during the entire day because it is the Day of Atonement when offerings of purification are made for you, making you right with Yahuwah your God. All who do not deny themselves that day will be cut off from Yahuwah's people, and I will destroy anyone among you who does any work on that day. You must not do any work at all. This is a permanent law for you, and it must be observed from generation to generation wherever you live. This will be a Sabbath day of complete rest for you, and on that day you must deny yourselves. This day of rest will begin at sundown on the 9th day of the month and extend until sundown on the 10th day. And Yahuwah said to Moses, give the following instructions to the people of Israel. Begin celebrating the Festival of Shelters, or Sukkot, or the Feast of Tents, or the Feast of Tabernacles, or the Feast of Booths. It has a lot of different names, right? And Yahuwah said to Moses, give the following instructions to the people of Israel. Begin celebrating the Festival of Shelters on the 15th day of the appointed month, 5 days after the Day of Atonement. This festival to Yahuwah will last for 7 days. On the first day of the festival, you must proclaim an official day for holy assembly when you do no ordinary work. For 7 days, you must present special gifts to Yahuwah. The 8th day is another holy day on which you present your special gifts to Yahuwah. This will be a solemn occasion, and no ordinary work may be done that day. These are Yahuwah's appointed festivals, not Jewish festivals, not Jewish feasts. It says these are Yahuwah's appointed festivals. I know they got some other ones scattered out through there, but these was the ones Yahuwah told us to keep to. Everything else, people didn't add it in there, and they added them. But we try to keep as close to Yahuwah's festivals as possible, right? These are Yahuwah's appointed festivals. Celebrate them each year as official days for holy assembly by presenting special gifts to Yahuwah, burnt offerings, grain offerings, sacrifices, and liquid offerings, each on its proper day. These festivals must be observed in addition to Yahuwah's regular Sabbath days, and the offerings are in addition to your personal gifts, the offerings you give to fulfill your vows, and the voluntary offerings you present to Yahuwah. Remember that this 7-day festival to Yahuwah, the Festival of Shelters, or Booths, or Tents, or Sukkot, begins on the 15th day of the appointed month after you have harvested all the produce of the land. And so what day does this begin? What moon cycle is this? It's the 15th day, meaning it's a full moon. So if you are celebrating, you begin celebrating the Festival of Shelters, and it's not a full moon, you are wrong. You are wrong. Your days are wrong. And I believe Yahuwah, he points these days out because we can verify in the sky that the day is right or the day is wrong. He said it's going to happen. As they start screwing with time in the calendars, people are going to start celebrating these days on days that are not authorized to celebrate these days, on unclean days, and everything going to be discombobulated. So that's why we have to go back and we have to understand the clock in the sky to make sure we can align these dates on the proper days. So the Festival of Shelters, or Sukkot, and also in the spring festival, unleavened bread, what should the moon cycle be? It should be a full moon the day we begin. Like, it's a full moon. This part of the month is when it should begin. If you don't see that in the sky, you need to pause. Wait a minute. I don't care what your church congregation or who the temple, the synagogue, whoever you with, somebody needs to bring this up and put it back. Because y'all wrong. You're about to be wrong. Remember that this 7-day festival to Yahuwah, the Festival of Shelters, begins on the 15th day of the appointed month after you have harvested all the produce of the land. The first day and the 8th day of the festival will be days of complete rest. On the first day, gather branches from magnificent trees, palm fronds, boughs from leafy trees, and willows that grow by the streams. Then celebrate them with joy before Yahuwah your God for 7 days. You must observe this festival to Yahuwah for 7 days every year. This is a permanent law for you, and it must be observed in the appointed month from generation to generation. For 7 days you must live inside of little shelters. All native-born Israelites must live in shelters. This will remind each new generation of Israelites that I made their ancestors live in shelters when I rescued them from the land of Egypt. I am Yahuwah your God. So Moses gave the Israelites these instructions regarding the annual festivals of Yahuwah. All right, beautiful people. Wow, that took us almost the whole reading for the day. Okay, so I guess we're only going to have enough time to read one little section here. So let's hop right on over here. Okay. What we got left? Page 265. It's just this last little section. Okay. Jethro rewarded. Okay, let's just hop right to it, y'all. Let me fix this. Thanks, Titus. Okay, page 265, and it's the section Jethro reward if you have the smaller book with different page numbers. Although the installation of elders on Moses' part came to pass in accordance with the command of Yahuwah, still it was Jethro upon whose advice Moses besought Yahuwah to lighten his burden and to permit him partly to transfer the leadership of the people to the others. Hence he did not conceal the name of the advisor, but announced to it all the people and immortalized him as such in the Holy Scriptures, for he deemed it praiseworthy to appreciate duly the merits of others. It had, however, been part of Yahuwah's scheme to reward Jethro for the love he bore for the Torah, and for this reason did he allow it to come to pass that Moses had to have his attention called to the plan of installing the elders through his father-in-law, that the Holy Scriptures might devote a whole chapter to the plan of Jethro. This, however, is not the only reward for Jethro's piety, who, in his love for the Torah, excelled all proselytes. A miracle occurred on the first day of his arrival in the camp, for manna in his honor descended. A miracle occurred on the very first day of his arrival in camp, for manna in his honor descended at the noon hour, the hour of his arrival, and moreover, as great quantities as was wont to rain down for 60 myriads of Israelites. He did not have to exert himself to gather the food. It came over his body. So all he had to do was carry his hand to his mouth to partake of it. Nevertheless, Jethro did not remain with Moses, but he returned to his native land. Moses, of course, tried to persuade his father-in-law to stay. He said to him, "Do not think that we shall continue to move thus slowly through the desert. Nay, we shall now move directly towards the promised land." Only to urge Jethro to stay longer with them did Moses use the words, "we move," so that his father-in-law might believe that Moses too would enter into the promised land, for otherwise he would hardly have allowed himself to be persuaded to join the march to Palestine. Moses continued, "I do not want to mislead thee. Hence I will tell thee that the land will be divided among the 12 tribes, and thou hast no claim to possession of lands. But Yahuwah bade us be kind to the proselytes, and to thee we shall be kinder than to all the other proselytes. Jethro, however, was not to be persuaded by his son-in-law, considering himself in duty bound to return to his own native land. For the inhabitants of his city had for many years made a habit of having him restore their valuables, as none possessed their confidence in such a measure as he. If he stayed still longer with Moses, people would have declared that he had abandoned with all the things and fled to Moses to share with him, and that would have been a blot on his fair name and that of Moses. Jethro had furthermore made many debts during the year in which he came to Moses, for owing to the hail Yahuwah sent upon Egypt before the exodus of Israel, a great famine had arisen in Jethro's home too, and he found himself obliged to lend money for the support of the poor. If he were not now to return to his home, people would say that he had run away in order to evade his creditors, and such talk concerning a man of piety would have been a desecration to the divine name. Wow. Now that is morals. So he said to Moses, there are people who have a fatherland, but no property there. There are also property holders who have no family, but I have a fatherland and have property there as well as a family. Hence I desire to return to my fatherland, my property, and my family. But Moses would not yield so soon, and said to his father-in-law, if thou dost not accompany us a favor, I will command thee to do so, that the Israelites might not say that thou hast been converted to our religion, only in the expectation of receiving a share in the promised land, but had returned to thy home when thou did discover that the proselytes have no claim on the property in the Holy Land. Through thy refusal to move with us, thou will give the heathens an opportunity to say that the Jews do not accept proselytes, since they did not accept even their own king's father-in-law, but allowed him to return to his own land. Thy refusal will injure the glory of Yahuwah, for the heathens will keep away from the true. For the heathens will keep away from the true faith. Y'all got to think about something too. Also think about the Jewish converts that are currently in the land, and some of them, you get like everything that they do is like almost a complete opposite of what Yahuwah has said, right? Like you go over there, like Yahuwah tells us, anybody that comes to me of whatever the nation is, and they're called the sojourner and a stranger among us, right? Because they're not the bloodborn. It's not a discredit to them. It's just they were not born from our mother and fathers, right? So that's how they're distinguished in a way. But it's not that they're any less than we are or any less important to Yahuwah. But he said, if anybody from the other nations, strangers, sojourners, come among you, he said, don't push them away. Let them come to me, right? So all of our people who are in the habit of when we waking up, y'all not the people, get out here, y'all can burn to death. If they decide they want to repent and come to the most holy so that they don't die and burn to death, Yahuwah said, let them come, right? We're not to push them away. But I said all that to say, if you look at, and I'm not going to say it's all of them, but from at least from what I've seen, and even from some of the people who go visit the Holy Land over there, what they say is the Holy Land, with the Jewish people involved, it's like, we don't want y'all over here. Go on, get on up out of here. Y'all do not belong over here. Get over here. And it's like they're harsh to them. Even when they go to, even some of the places that have been fabricated, like the Wailing Wall and different places like that, I've seen some of the videos, some people, their experience when they went there, and like they have guards and stuff around. I get it or whatever, but some people are not even able to advance towards the place where they say the most holy presence is, to pray and leave their prayers and stuff. Not that I agree that that's that, but
Mom,
yes, baby girl.
See that snow?
I see the snow still out there, baby girl.
Let me go out.
Give me a second. Hold on.
My pants on,
yes, you need to get fully dressed, baby girl.
And my jacket and my pants.
Yes, you got to get on everything. So, but I'm just using that as an example. Like, if that was the case, why are y'all turning people away? It's like they want to be close to the Most High. Like I said, not that that's that he's there. But you see, it's like they got a method behind their madness. Like, and if we would look at it, if Yahuwah would remove the scales from your eyes, he would show you, see how everything they're doing is backwards, is going against everything that I have said, everything that I have commanded for my people. And I'm just like, how come y'all can't see this? I don't care what their name is, the TV show, what they call themselves, and our people waking up just to go back to sleep, being led astray by other people who is claiming to be the bloodborn, but are not, right? And you would think if they were claiming they were true impersonators, that they would be trying to keep to as close as what Yahuwah said. But I think that was allowed by Yahuwah for when he did start waking us up and open our eyes, and as we begin to return to the Torah, we can clearly see that there are imposters afoot, right? And if you don't return to the Torah, and if you don't start reading it, it's impossible for you to see. Now there's a divide between Yahuwah's people, those who are waking up and returning to Yahuwah, and those who are waking up and keeping the pagan teachings of the nations where they've been held in bondage, right? They want to hold on to those gods. And it's like it's impossible for you to see the truth, right? And it's a big clash. And it almost seems like the ones who are returning to Yahuwah's law, statutes, and commands, it almost seems like we become the blasphemers. You know, it almost seems, I got this whole, it's my personal theory. I'm going to just say it's my personal theory from what I'm saying. I was like, you know what? Now that I'm looking at this based on what I was taught in the church and when I was just here, you know, it seems like that they are over here, they're preparing people for the actual awakening of Yahuwah's true people and saying, them people right there, them ones, that's the enemy. They're gonna be a part of the beast system. You know, those are the minions of the beast, and they're turning against the who we supposed to really worship. I'm like, oh, I told my mom, I was like, oh shoot. I said, Mom, I think they're referring to us. The ones who really waking up, like they're calling us the ones who's actually returning to Yahuwah. I said, they're calling us the blasphemers. They're calling us like devil worshipers and stuff, and like we're what's the word? It's another word. They're calling us the ones who deny the Messiah. I'm like, no. The Messiah, Yahuwah said that he himself is the Messiah of Israel, right? He did not say he was going to send another. He may have a deliverer like Moses. It's like the same thing. And we see that constant thing all throughout the scriptures, right? But it seems like when we turn against the false teaching, like, wait a minute, hold on. Let me just, let's compare these two, right? And it's like when we bring that out, it seems like now they cut us off. And we should be cut off from the foolishness, because Yahuwah wants us to be cut off from the foolishness and the lies. And it's like we are to walk over here. Think about it. Oh my gosh, y'all got to get this. Think about it in the New Testament when you read it. Think about the argument between the Pharisees and the Sadducees, my G. Listen, Dana said, I'm not shocked. They're going to pull out every stop. I'm telling you. Let me tell you something. That let me say, I probably shouldn't say this now because I'm still looking into it, and I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, Father, this is why you've been, like, Daniel has been my favorite book because I dream and stuff too. Like, and I remember when I was active duty military one time, when I heard, it was like, I ain't gonna say the first time, but it was like I heard, and I had like this supernatural experience, and I heard the voice of Yahuwah say to me, in just one word, he said, Daniel. And then I began to, let me tell you something. I was laying in my bed. I just had one child at the time, and me and my husband had not gotten married. Let me just share this. What time we get? Oh my gosh, what was going on? Okay, so I was laying there. I was still active duty military, and I was off this day, but the next day was my duty day, right? So I was laying in the bed asleep, and Elijah had come in my room and climbed into the bed with me, and he was sleeping like on the edge of the bed, and I turned and I was facing the wall, right? But I was laying there and I was thinking I had fallen asleep. And then I heard a voice say, Daniel, and my eyes popped open. And mind you, it's only me. And Leisha, you weren't, Leisha, if you're still here. I think Leisha went to Georgia. So it was just because she was living with me at the time. But she wasn't there. It was just me and Elijah in the house. It was like 4 o'clock in the morning. And I heard like somebody was standing in my room, and I heard Daniel. My eyes popped open. I wasn't afraid, but I'm like, I'm laying there, and my eyes just popped open, and I felt somebody rubbing my throat like this. And I knew it wasn't Elijah. Elijah was knocked out because he was snoring a little bit. I could hear him. But I want to say now, and after I'm understanding some things, I think it was an angel, right? I really do. And I don't know, maybe the way he was rubbing no, I ain't gonna say I felt a hand just like this. Like, you see this is how I felt the hand and the motion that was going. Maybe, I don't know, I'm thinking maybe you was touching my vocal cords or something like that. But I felt that, and it did that a few times. And I went back to sleep. I heard Daniel. My eyes popped open. It was a calm. It was a peace. My eyes popped open because I clearly heard somebody in my room, right? But I wasn't afraid. It was a complete peace. My eyes popped open, and I felt that hand. And my mind was like, I'm thinking, whose hand is this? But it was like a comment, and I went back to sleep. And I had a dream that I can't remember at this moment. But anyway, as I think about this and I look at the days and now I'm waking up and looking at all this stuff, I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, and I'm thinking about Daniel, what Yahuwah had given to Daniel. He said, seal it up. We're going to reveal it during that time. I'm like, wait a minute. And I realized it's this time that they were talking about as we're being liberated from this last captivity and returning to our senses and returning to Yahuwah alone, that these things are being revealed to us, right? I have even had a dream where I had a marble letter given to me with a red. So I've been talking to my sister about this over like the last few weeks. I'm like, wait a minute, this dream keep coming back to me. I'm like, wait a minute. It's a sealed letter that was given to me, and it said only you can open it. Like, for this particular assignment, I'm not saying it's the only one, but in my dream, I knew that this assignment was in here. Everything that I needed, the whole authority, whatever, was given to me, and I was the only one that could break the seal, right? And so now some of the other dreams that kind of align with that, with some of the angels that are giving me instructions, all these pieces are beginning to fall together. Now it's like, oh, snap, wait a minute. What's really going on here? Like, so I'm looking, I mentioned before, I'm like, y'all, I think we're missing something. I think it's right here in front of our face, but I think we're missing something, right? And so that's why I've been in Daniel again, just like, okay, Father, what are we missing? What are we missing? What are we missing? What are we missing, right? So all these things, it's like Yahuwah, he's slowly opening our eyes. So that's why I say, guys, you have to cling to the Torah, because you cannot be fooled, right? And everything where they say the Antichrist and stuff, let me tell you what I really believe. From this point, from all the information, like what they're teaching in the church and the Antichrist and all this stuff, don't quote me, but based on everything that I understand, when they're talking about the Antichrist and everybody turning against the church and JC, now I understand what this is. And I understand that Yahuwah is coming back. He's going to begin to rule the whole world. Everybody that's fighting against this, keep the church, don't turn away from JC, that's the Messiah, you're going to deny your Savior, you're going to go to hell. I think they're really saying something. Like, they're saying that, but I understand what this is. I think what's happening. Yes, baby girl. You ready, but you can't go out there by yourself. You got to wait for me. I believe they are preparing the world to fight against Yahuwah himself. Like, when they talk about the Antichrist, listen what I'm saying. When you hear Antichrist, okay, when we hear this word Antichrist, what has the church taught us? Who has the church taught us that the Christ is, right? This one single person, JC. This is Christ. So anybody that's against him is Antichrist, right? That's the word I was looking for earlier. People are looking at, now that we're returning to the Torah, to what Yahuwah said, they're looking at us like we're Antichrist. And in a way, we are Antichrist. That's a lie. We are Yahuwah alone. So they're looking at us, that's the Antichrist spirit upon them. You got darn absolutely right. We Antichrist. We anti against the lie that we have been set into during the time of our captivity. And we are returning to Yahuwah alone and his commands, because he said for Israel, he is our Messiah. He is our deliverer. Him alone, right? He said, do not worship any gods that your forefathers never knew. Did Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob ever mention anything about this over here? About this person? Did they ever mention him? Did they worship him? Did they call his name? Who did they talk to? Who did they always go to? They always went to Yahuwah, right? And that's what Yahuwah said, you always come to me. Is there not a prophet of Yahuwah in a place where we can inquire of him? We are to talk to him alone. So that is what it seemed like. Okay, baby girl, we're not going out yet. Wait a minute. She ready to go outside and play in the snow. So, and it's like, and I'm watching this, and I'm sitting here like, oh, snap. Oh, snap. I'm like, wait a minute. They talk about us. They talking about us. The Antichrist spirit. oh snap. Like, so guys, when y'all get that, it just blew my mind on so many levels. That's why I'm like, please y'all have to go read this. Then right, we are the Antichrist.
Mom, I know I'm ready.
Yes, you're ready, baby girl. So for those that just kind of came in on that and like, what in the world is they talking about? When we stop this, you have to go back and listen to everything that we just talked about, right? So Dana, you absolutely right. They are this over here, the Christianity is really preparing the world for the awakening of Yahuwah's true people that have been scattered in the four corners of the earth. And the indoctrination has been teaching you that this is the Antichrist. Because what are we going to do? We're going to rise up and we're going to begin. Yahuwah said we are going to take the kingdom, right? Just like the book of Daniel said. Go back and read. I posted something about Daniel. He said, and in these times, he said in this time, right? He said the Most High is going to sit on his... No, not yet, because you're not going out there yet. The Most High is going to take his seat and sit on his throne, right? He said, and thrones will be set up all over the world. Why are they set up all over the world? Let me tell you something. Yahuwah, in his majesty and in his holiness and in his forethinking and knowing the end from the beginning, not just scattered us because of our disobedience, but it was a blessing in us. And it's like this 2, 3, 4, 6, 7-fold blessing that's going on with the scattering of real Israel, right? Let me tell you something. We're scattered from the Holy Land because Yahuwah, he's going to rule from this particular place. That's where his presence is going to thrive. That's his throne, where his throne is going to be, right? We had the opportunity to just be there in his presence all the time. But he said, I want my goodness to cover the entire land, the entire earth, right? Everybody, he desires that all men come to him and worship him, right? He says, so in your disobedience, let's take this plan and we're going to scatter you to the four corners of the earth, right? You come out of here. You can't stand the land because of your disobedience, right? He says, so I'm going to scatter you. But in your disobedience, I'm going to take all the blessings off of you and I'm going to give them to the nations. Let the nations experience some of my goodness while they watch what happens when you don't keep my commands. It should be a blessing and a lesson for them at the same time. A blessing and a lesson. We get these blessings from Yahuwah's people. What did y'all do? Like, they should be learning from our disobedience, right? So at the time of the end, when it's time to return the blessings to the children, the rightful heirs of this throne where we live, the sons of the earth, when it's time to return the throne, the kingdom to the rightful heirs, right? To the firstborn. Yahuwah calls us what? His firstborn. His firstborn. That's why the plague of the firstborn, because Yahuwah said, you're killing my firstborn. Not one son whom they call JC. He said, but the entire nation of Israel, all 12 tribes and their descendants forever. I consider them my firstborn son. Firstborn because he wants more sons. But they are the firstborn. They are going to inherit the kingdom. They're going to inherit the earth. And when we merge, I'm going to already have them scattered to the four corners of the earth. And I'm going to begin setting up thrones. This is what I began to realize that Daniel was saying, right? And portions that would sound like, oh, snap. So thrones are being set up while the Most High is taking his place to begin to judge, right? And and it tells you in Daniel chapter 7 that the kingdom of Rome, which is the last beast, the last beast, he said not everybody he's going to kill, but he's going to allow them to live for a time. He said, but he's going to take the kingdom and he's going to put it into hand of the one that it said looked like the Son of Man. But if you go back and just a couple verses down and it gives you the interpretation, it said that Son of Man, not a singular. Remember, Yahuwah calls us his son. That son will be given the kingdom, which are the descendants of King David. It said, and they will begin to rule the earth with the Most High, right? He said the son represented the holy people, plural. All of us being scattered to the four corners of the earth. He said the kingdom will be handed over to them. How we already in place, my G? We are already in place, scattered to the four corners of the earth as we're returning to the Most High and we keeping his law, statutes, and commands. The kingdom is going to be turned back over to us and we're going to rule and reign with him forever. He said, and they will rule forever. Guys, you can't see this if you don't return to the Torah. I'm just like, what just happened to my mind? I'm like, what? This has been here the whole just got super excited. But I just had to share that with y'all. Guys, I'm telling you, the church has been preparing people, indoctrinating people to call Yahuwah's people antichrist. Like we are the beast. Like we are the devil. No, we are preparing ourselves to rule with the most holy. And they're fighting against it with everything they got. Right? And they're calling us the ones that is turning, like, because we don't want to worship their God. This man God who was unfit to be a sacrifice. And Yahuwah says, I do not even accept human sacrifice. Like, for one, oh gosh, guys. I got to finish this little bit of section. But hear what I'm saying. They are, the church is preparing the world. That's why I got so much to say, so much that I realize now. Even how they go and they say, take the gospel to the four corners. Jesus can't come back until the gospel has been sent everywhere. Why are they are trying to indoctrinate the entire world to build an entire force that fights against the most holy when he himself cracks the sky and sit on his throne, and all his people, us, those of us who are returning to his words and his words alone, we getting rid of all the shenanigans, all the tares. He's separating the tares from the wheat. We removing the bones from the meat, and it's like we're telling people, wait a minute, this is the way, walking this way. This is the ancient path. We found it. We've uncovered the ancient path. It's been covered up so long. And I'm standing here with my broom, sweeping the dirt off with my air blower. This is the path, y'all. Right here, this is the path. And I'm blowing it for y'all. I'm like, please, y'all going in the wrong direction. Like, this is the path. I'm like, every kind of light I can get and turn on, setting it along. I'm like, Father, show them. I'm going to make sure they can see this. Look, this is the path. Walk in it. This is the sturdy ground we're supposed to walk on. This is where we follow. Yahuwah is at the end of this path. He's here. Let me finish reading this section. Okay, guys. Okay. Where was I at? Was somebody paying attention? Because we got to finish. But that's what I began to see. And I think this is what has been sealed up. Not all of it. I think it's some more. And our brothers and sisters are getting bits and pieces of it. And we're waking up and it's like, what? Listen. I'm going to finish this and we're going to be done today. Okay. Thy refusal would injure the glory of Yahuwah, for the heathens will keep away from the true faith. But if thou wilt wander with us, I assure thee, thy seed shall share with us the temple, the Torah, and the future reward of the pious. How canst thou, moreover, who hast seen all the miracles of Yahuwah, wrought for us during the march through the desert, who were a witness of the way in which even the Egyptians became fond of us, how can thou now depart from us? It is a sufficient motive for thee to remain with us, in order to officiate as a member of the Sanhedrin and teach the Torah. We, on our part, want to retain thee, only that thou mightest in difficult cases enlighten our eyes. For thou wert a man who gave us good and fair counsel, to which Yahuwah himself could not refuse his assent. Jethro replied, a candle may glow in the dark, but not when the sun and the moon A candle may glow in the dark, but not when the sun and the moon. Of what avail would my candlelight be? I had, therefore, better return to my home city, that I may make proselytes of its inhabitants, instruct them in the Torah, and lead them under the wings of the Shekinah, amid great marks of honor, and provided with rich gifts. Jethro returned to his home, where he converted his kinsmen and his compatriots to the belief in the truth of Yahuwah, as he had intended. The descendants of Jethro later settled in Palestine, where the fruitful land of Jethro was allotted to them as a dwelling place. After the capture of Palestine, the tribes, by mutual consent, agreed that the fertile strip of land at Jericho should fall to the share of the tribe on whose land the temple was to be erected. But when its erection was postponed for a long time, they agreed to allot this piece of land to Jethro's sons because they, being proselytes, had no other possession in the Holy Land. 480 years did the descendants of Jethro dwell in Jericho, when upon the erection of the temple at Jerusalem, they relinquished it to the tribe of Judah, who claimed it as an indemnity for the site of the temple. And we got a few more sentences, y'all. I'm sorry, like a whole paragraph. Jethro's descendants inherited his devotion to the Torah, like him, dedicating their lives entirely to its study. So long as Joshua lived, they sat at this master's feet. But when he died, they said, "We left our fatherland and came here only for the sake of studying the Torah. If we were now to spend our time in cultivating the soil, when should we study the Torah?" They therefore gave up their dwelling place in Jericho and moved to the cold, barren wilderness, to Jabez, who there had his house of instruction. But when they there beheld the priests, the Levites, and the nobles of the Jews, they said, "How can we, proselytes, presume to sit beside these?" Instead of sitting within the house of instruction, they remained at the entrance of it, where they listened to the lectures, and in this manner made further progress in the study of the Torah. They were rewarded for their piety. Their prayer was heard by Yahuwah, and their good deeds served as a protection to Israel. And on account of their pious actions, they were called the families of the scribes, the Terathites, the Shemithites, and the Sukathites, names designating their piety and devotion to the Torah. One of the descendants of Jethro was Jonadab, the son of Rechab, who, when he heard from a prophet of Yahuwah, would destroy the temple, bade all his children, as a token of mourning, to drink no wine, use no oil for anointing themselves, nor cut their hair, nor dwell in houses. The Rechabites obeyed this command of their sire, and as a reward for this, Yahuwah made a covenant with them that their descendants shall always be members of the Sanhedrin and teachers of Israel. The covenant with the Rechabites was even stronger than that with David. For to the house of the latter, Yahuwah kept his promise of the covenant only if his descendants were pious, but he made an unconditional covenant with the Rechabites. Yahuwah rewarded them for their devotion to him in this way, although they did not belong to the Jewish nation. Well, we know, to the Hebrew nation. From this one can gather how great would have been their reward if they had been Israelites. So Yahuwah blessed them, even though they were not of the bloodline. He said, and if he blessed them like this, imagine how much more blessed they would have been if they had been the sons. So Yahuwah treats those that are not actually of the bloodline, he treats them just as good. He treats them so good, right? So, but that's our reading for today, y'all. That was actually like a whole page if we just put what's on this page and this page together. So that was page 265 to 266, and we read Leviticus 21. Hold on, I'm almost done. 21, 22, and 23. Y'all, I hope y'all enjoyed the reading today. I hope y'all enjoyed the reading today. I surely did. I did not think I was going to get that animated and even bring that up today, but it came out. It is what it is. So I got to go back and watch this myself. So with that being said, y'all, let's go ahead and do the blessing for today. But a quick recap, it is Friday, January 29th, 2021, day 63 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, and of 3-year consecutive day count, day 732. Remember, the blessing is found in Numbers chapter 6, verses 22 through 27. Remember, the first 21 verses is the Nazirite vow, and the man or woman can take it. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, saying, On this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, May Yahuwah bless us and keep us. May Yahuwah make his face to shine upon us and be gracious unto us. May Yahuwah lift up his countenance upon us and give us his peace. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. Whose name do we put on Yahuwah's people? He said, My name alone, and I myself will come and bless my people. All right, y'all. Let me check these comments real quick. Ooh, Titus made a comment, right? I noticed that. I ain't never said anything, but I had noticed that. Listen, Titus made a comment, something that I had noticed. Okay, he said, you're mind blowing me, and the strange thing is, it seemed to have started after you started covering your hair. I noticed that, but I didn't say anything. Remember how I shared with y'all? If y'all go all the way back, I think it was September. You will see, if you look at my videos, you'll pull them up. And you'll look at them, you'll see from how my hair was uncovered all this time until the day, and I shared with y'all, because I think it was Tiffany was the one, I think after about a week of me covering my hair, she actually asked the question. And I wasn't going to say anything. I was just being obedient to what Yahuwah had said to me. I didn't know why. I didn't understand why. I just know he said because it's consecrated to me and it belongs to me, right? You know, so I just kept that. I figured I was thinking about all these things, why Yahuwah could have said, cover your hair, right? Because I was like, I knew some of our people covered their hair and some people make it a religious act, but I just figured it really wasn't all that serious. And I got dreads and I like having my hair out, you know, but I also like covering my hair. So I didn't really have a big issue, but I just wasn't the one where I'm going to cover my hair religiously all the time. I'm like, cause no, I'm not, you know, but when Yahuwah said it to me, I'm like, okay, I'm going to be obedient. I'm going to cover my hair, you know. So that's what I started doing. But yeah, but I had started noticing something had begun shifting me a little bit more by just being obedient to that. I'm like, oh shoot. So I started noticing that too. Okay. Thank you, Mom. All right, let's see. Check over here on Facebook real quick. Y'all gotta go. Please go to work. Please don't have me in trouble. No, because I tell you, I ain't gonna be in trouble. I tell y'all, listen, y'all gotta go to work. This is recorded. Come back and watch this. Okay. Dana said, we are the Antichrist. Programming just like they doing in news. You right. Tell it, sis. I think some people be wanting to Trina, hold on. I gotta spam your comment. Okay. Trina said, stop, Isaiah. Yes, sis, tell it. I think some people be wanting to stone me when I say I don't believe in JC anymore. Some of my family don't fool with me. They think I'm crazy. Girl, it's like we be trying to show them, like, look, just all you got to do is just go read the Bible. Like, go read the Bible that you say you believe. Like, just read it. Like, and you can tell people that actually don't read, right? At least I get excited every time. Oh, we wasn't paying attention. We got excited too. Girl, I'm telling you. Okay. All right, y'all. I was just checking through, make sure nobody asked me a question that I missed or whatever. Okay. But y'all, I gotta go. It's Friday. They trying to get out here and play in this little bit of snow that's left out here. So I'm going to let them do that. But I do have some work that I need to get done too. So I love y'all. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I'll see y'all in the morning. Saturday, 7:30 a.m. Remember, on the weekends, we'll take an extra 15 minutes. If you want to sleep in, sleep in. 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturday and Sunday. Remember, through the week, 7:15 a.m. All right, y'all. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Love you. Peace.
Bye.